So, I have a question. How many of you are old enough to remember having to talk to an operator when making a phone call? Almost everybody. Some people not. But, so remember when you were calling collect? Which means, for those of you who don't know, that means that the other person's going to pay for the call and not you. You don't have that anymore. But you had to ask the operator, to ask your parents if they would accept the charges for the call. And then, if they said yes, the operator would connect you, would put you through, and then they would remove themselves from the call. We assume. And I can remember actually being nervous as I could hear my mom or dad, pick up the phone and just pray they said yes. They would accept the call. But we also had this system that I would call collect, and they would refuse the charges. And what that meant was I was leaving wherever I was, and I would be home in just a little bit, like that sneaky little system, right? I'm sure the operators were sick of that, Anyway, so in that situation, there was like a mediator between me and my parents who had to give us a connection in order for us to be able to talk. So we don't struggle with collect calls and telephone operators anymore, but we still have issues with making connections, don't we? Right? Now it's these invisible cell phone goblins that just kind of cut you off and just interrupt the whole call. You have no idea why you suddenly lost. You know that you're talking right along and you're like, can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yeah. So we're laughing the other night in Zoom, actually, in our Wednesday Zoom class, because within one evening, I had to say, so-and-so, you're on mute, 9 different times in 1 hour and a half session. It was always Susan. No, it just really wasn't. But again, something was interfering with the connection. It was that little button on the left-hand bottom of your screen. That little button could interrupt the connection that we were having. So we understand that there are barriers with technology and making connections with each other, don't we? Every little element of the system has to be just right for us to talk to each other, and both parties have to agree that there is a desire to connect. You have to unmute yourself, or you have to get off and call again, or whatever. We've come to understand that it takes two to connect. And at this time in our lives, probably more than any other time, many of us are craving connection. I made the comment this morning, in this pouring rain, we're going to see what the impact of COVID is on our desire to get together, because sometimes before COVID, a little rain would prevent people from showing up, but you guys were hungry to see each other this morning. So we know we're craving, we long to embrace the people we love, we crave the opportunity to travel to far and wide, to see folks you haven't seen in 6 months. And many of us miss our coworkers that we used to sit beside or have lunch with or talk over the coffee pot with. We're blessed to be in this room on Sunday mornings, but we want a deeper connection. We want to even hear. We want to share our smiles and hugs. And I think most of us understand this deep desire for connection. And many of us desire connection in the physical world more than ever. The other night I was watching the Netflix documentary called The Social Dilemma. How many of you have seen that? If you haven't seen it, it should be required viewing. It really should. I'm not going to get into everything, but it explores this topic of connection and how our technology and social media in particular is actually blocking real connection from happening in our lives today by using, parts of our wires that are parts of our brains that are wired for addiction. They're actually manipulating our addiction triggers in our brains to keep us glued to our screens. And again, I'm not going to get all the details, but watch it. Connection on our devices does not equal nor give the benefits of real life connection. So my talk title today is, can I get a connection? Mm-hmm. Can I get a connection? I think we all get on the human level that everything needs to line up for that connection to happen. We get it on the emotional and logistical level too, but I want to take a look at it from a kind of a bigger perspective. I want to talk about connecting with ourselves, connecting with God, and connecting with each other. So let's first talk about connecting with ourselves. We've come to know that we have many layers of our personhood. We have our personalities and our bodies, we have our emotions, our minds, our spirit. Connecting with each of those layers within ourselves is so important for our well-being and our ability to connect with life, that waits outside our bedroom door every morning. We've got to be connected to ourselves. And Lots of us are having more and more hours alone than we've ever had. But are we simply distracting ourselves, or do we actually connect with ourselves during all these hours? You know, being self-aware is a process of awakening to all of the nuances that make you who you are on any given day. You know, most of us spend a lifetime exploring how our personalities work and what we prefer to have in life and how do we move most easily through life. You know, most people spend their entire lifetime understanding their bodies and what makes this particular magic suit feel and work the best as healthfully as possible. That's a whole journey in and of itself, right? So we examine our thoughts around here, so we're more fully aware of our belief systems, and because our belief systems impact us on so many levels. Our experiences and our situations are influenced so heavily by what we think about. And in a spiritual community, obviously, we are here to connect with our souls and our spiritual identity too. And we'll get to that more in a minute, but I want to talk again about our minds. So Ernest Holmes says this: what we outwardly are and what we become depends on what we are thinking. For this is the way we use the creative power, what we are thinking. So if what we are depends on what we think, it's vitally important that we connect with ourselves every single day, and oftentimes many times throughout the day, so that we observe and examine our thoughts on a regular basis. Mindfulness is so important, and it brings us fully back into this moment, fully back into our beingness. And again, if we realize that our attention is being directed by our technology, we gotta wake up and realize that it's very important to stay vigilant about our thoughts because they make us who we are. You are more likely to be your best if you actually connect with yourself every morning before you leave your house, right? Are you in your highest self as you open that door to go out of your room into the house, but then out of the house too? You know, have you taken care of your physical needs appropriately? Or are you just rushing around making your self-care, you know, the last and lowest priority? You know, have you checked yourself in the mirror to make sure your eyes are soft and loving? Because guess what? The eyes are really all we have right now. So make sure that they're connecting. You know, and do you have your best mask on, you know, to protect your health and others? You know, this basic question becomes, have I loved myself enough before I walk out and try to love others? So I invite you to take your connection with yourself and take it seriously and ask yourself, what needs to change? Does anything need to change about my connection? Can I get a connection with myself? And as we come into this deeper and kinder and more honest understanding of ourselves, we can attune to that part of ourselves that is pure spirit, that part of ourselves that is in alignment with the one always. Because if we can connect with that, then we can connect with others better. When we recognize our oneness in normal everyday occurrences, our normal everyday occurrences are taken to another level. So the second type of connection I want to talk to you about is our connection to God. How do you know when you're connected with your highest power or your highest self? The telltale sign of a connection with spirit is inner peace. That quiet center of your mind and your heart. You know, last month we talked about faith and the impact having faith has on our inner world. And if you remember from last month, having faith means knowing that all is well. And when you're connected with spirit, you've released your story about whatever's going on in your life, and you settle into a knowing that you've surrendered to the situation and you've surrendered it to spirit, and truly all is well. So spiritual practice is our only way of connecting with God, and it's really important to stay connected to that inner peace. You know, I'm going to talk about prayer, right? Ministers are always going to talk about prayer. You know, prayer is how we reach out or reach in, whichever way you want to look at it, and connect. And I want you to know it can sound just like a conversation. I mean, just talk to your higher self like you talk to a friend. You know, describe what you want to surrender, what you want clarity about, you know, what you desire divine guidance around in your life. What do you want to forgive or release? What are you grateful for? Ask questions and scream if it helps. It doesn't matter. You're connecting with the one that lives inside of you. And so speak your word and spread it over your life and all of your situations, and understand that it's a responsive universe that we live in. And then shut up. Shut up and get quiet. Because be still and know is how it works. Be still and listen. Be still and allow inspired thoughts to flow in your mind. The last week or the week before in our Wednesday night class, Brittany did a meditation. This is cool drawing meditation. Those of you who are there, it was really interesting. What she said is just ask a question of spirit, and then just allow yourself to just draw whatever comes out of your hand. And she even said, put it in your non-dominant hand and listen to your thoughts. Because there's something about getting your mind out of the way, your own will out of the way, that opens yourself up to new information. I think it helped many of us in that class, like connect to God and connect to our higher selves. So that's just one technique. You know, journal, read, keep a gratitude list, spend time in nature, whatever it takes to connect. There's no one way to connect to your higher power, just like there's not one way to connect to ourselves. The point is to have an active relationship with spirit in your life. To have faith that you are never alone and you've always had everything you needed and all is well. That's that connection with God. And then, after we've connected with ourselves and with spirit, it's time to connect with other people in our world and other people in our lives. You know, when we leave the house after we've connected with our inner selves and spirit, it shows up in everything we do, in every person we talk to. And knowing that we are each a reflection of the infinite self, we can move towards an understanding that everyone around us reflects ourselves. Just like me, everyone is doing the very best they can with what they have in the time that they have. And when we can find compassion for ourselves in doing the best we can, we're able to transfer that compassion to those around us. So let me back up a minute and repeat what I just said. Everyone around us reflects us. Ernest Holmes says it this way: in turning to the law, realize it is a law of reflection. What we reflect out to the world reflects to us. When we smile at the world smiles back. We change our reflection to that of God reflecting through us. What comes back is the same, if not more. We all know that if you want to change the reflection, you can't change the mirror. You have to change the object in front of the mirror. You have to change yourself to change the way you view the world around you and the people around you. So let's talk about that for a second. There is nothing in anyone else that is not also in me. We're all made up of the same God stuff, the same energy. And within each of us is the same range of experience. If every quality is on a continuum from barely there to hyper engaged and super active, then we all fall on that continuum somewhere. So let me try to illustrate that, what I'm saying. Okay, so let me take the introversion, extroversion continuum as an example. It shouldn't trigger too many of us, right? It's easy. So all of us fall somewhere on that continuum, right? You know, from being super shy and withdrawn and quiet at this end and being super engaged and boisterous and outgoing at the other end. And all of us have a preference for where we wish other people would be on that continuum too, don't we? Some of us are asking people to be more engaged, and some of us ask, shut up, right? Please. I get that. I hear that a lot. Just shut up. Anyway, but the truth is that all of us have that entire continuum within us. Our ability to understand and accept others, wherever they are on that scale, helps us connect with more people, with different kinds of people. So as I show up around a large group of people, they reflect back to me, where am I in my ability to tolerate a wide variety of personality types? I'm constantly looking in the mirror at my own ability to relate and to have compassion. So let's take another continuum that might be interesting. Let's look at the continuum from being passive and peaceful and nurturing and cooperative at one end, and the other end being aggressive and violent and threatening. Okay, all of us have within us this entire scale of possibility, and most of us are somewhere in the middle. And as others show up around us somewhere other than where we are on that continuum, then we may judge them as being too different or unrelatable. We may not be able to show compassion for their way of solving problems or dealing with conflict. They're going to reflect to us who we are and where we lack compassion, right? So each person we interact with is a very complex mirror to look at ourselves in. Judging another is actually judging yourself, because we are all one. We may wish other people had learned the lessons that we learned in our lives. We may want to control other people and their impulses. We've learned to control them. Why can't they control them, right? But remember, how we feel or speak about someone else is really telling more about ourselves than about the other person. The more at peace we are within ourselves and with spirit, the more at peace the world will show itself to be in our presence. It's just how it works. The more turmoil we have within ourselves or our relationship with spirit, the more turmoil the world will show itself to have in our presence. It's how connection works. It's how the creative process works. The more I change what I send out, the more I change what comes back into my life. So when you are connected with yourself and with spirit, your connections with others is impacted in very positive ways. I like to describe it as a huge web. If you've been around here long, you've heard me talk about the web of life. We are each a point on the web, an intersection of connection between each individual person and every person you come in contact with. I'm connected to you, and you're connected with everybody that you know. And what I send out to you travels out on the web infinitely, like a pulse of energy. So if I send out a positive pulse of energy, it will travel out on the web and return to me as a positive pulse of energy. A positive energy pulse is like any kind of love, compassion, kindness, forgiveness, understanding, support, resources, affection, love, whatever. That's a positive pulse of energy that's going out onto the web and returning to me. But if I send out a negative energy pulse, it will also travel on the web and come back to me. A negative energy pulse is fear of any kind. So negativity, judgment, hatred, resentment, guilt, regret, withdrawal, whatever. All those are different of that negative pulse outward. But the biggest truth is that there is no way to disconnect. There's no way. We're always connected to ourselves. We are always living in a responsive universe, and spirit is always within us. And we are forever on the web of life with every other human being. So my question really should be, can I get a positive connection? And the answer is yes. If you're willing to stay connected to spirit and the truth of oneness, yes, you can. So today, instead of our one sentence affirmation, I want to lead you in an experience of positive connection and compassion. So if you're willing, I invite you to clear everything off your lap and anchor yourself in the moment just by placing your feet solid on the floor. And if you're comfortable, just close your eyes or lower them into a soft gaze. And as you do so, just allow yourself to breathe just deeply and naturally. Just return to that place of meditation where Susan had us earlier. And I invite you to become aware of the place inside you that feels connected to the power that is bigger than yourself. And breathe your next breath into that place. And with each breath, visualize that connection to spirit expanding within you. Each breath fills you more completely with love and light. Just remember more fully that you are held in the arms of grace at all times. Life does not make you earn your breath. It is freely given to you, breath after breath after breath. The givingness of spirit is complete and alive within you. Just bask in that awareness. You are connected. And now I invite you to imagine a mirror in front of you. Bring to mind your own face, your own reflection. Imagine looking into your own eyes with the eyes of spirit. Extend to your own self great compassion. Remind yourself that you are seeking happiness in your life and love yourself for that. Remember that you are trying to avoid suffering in your life and love yourself for that. Extend compassion to yourself about the sadness you have known in your life. Understand that you want to be loved, and that once you were a young child wanting to be loved. Remind yourself that you are actually on a spiritual journey, and just sit in that self-compassion. Now that you've bathed yourself in compassion and love, I want you to imagine laying the mirror aside. And bring to your awareness and imagine sitting before you is a person you wish to build compassion with. Just think of someone. It could be a loved one, a complete stranger, someone you know but do not understand, or even someone with whom you have a difficult time. Just invite them to be here with you now in your imagination and connect with them in this moment. And I'm going to read these statements to you that I invited you to remember about yourself and ask you to repeat them silently to this person before you as you gently gaze upon the person you are thinking about. So get firmly in your mind this person's face and repeat these statements silently. Just like me, you are seeking some happiness in your life. Just like me, you are trying to avoid suffering in your life. Just like me, you have known sadness. Just like me, you want to be loved. Just like me, you were once a young child. Just like me, you are on a spirit. You are on a spiritual journey. I see you are just like me, and I bless you with my compassion. And I will lead you in the metta blessing too. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. And may you be happy. So thank the person for coming to sit with you in your mind, and let them go with gratitude. And when you're ready, gently return to this room. And now I invite you to look around at your spiritual family. See in each other's eyes that compassion. That compassion is available. Connection is available to you in this room. Just take a moment to allow that into your very being. You are loved, you're seen, you're appreciated, you are connected. So let's remember this week. Let's remember this week that we're always connected with ourselves. We're always connected with Spirit. And we're always connected on the web of life with everyone in the world. It's the movement of the divine within us, around us, and between us that connects us. And as you create connections with others, you're actually deepening your connection with Spirit, because Spirit is in and expressing as that person too. It deepens that connection with yourself. You know, we sang earlier in the service, there is only one of us. There is only one of us. In your eyes, it's me I see. Derek's going to sing a song called Behold. And it talks about the kingdom of God being within you. It's your connection with Spirit, and it's available in your connections with every other person. Behold. And so it is.